to be with you all virtually today and to be with all of our students and faculty as you all are trickling in. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Hello, welcome. My name is Taylor Middleton. I will be the moderator for this event. I'm one of the admissions counselors at Azusa Pacific University. Welcome. Probably going to give it another one more minute to let some people trickle in before we start with our introductions. So make sure you've got your water ready to go. Stay hydrated during this event. Have your notepad ready to take notes all about your major and be prepared to learn some awesome stuff. Awesome. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our event. Thank you so much for joining today. Welcome. My name is Taylor Middleton. I'm one of the admissions counselors at Azusa Pacific University. Awesome. Okay. I think I am going to give it until 6:03, and then I'm going to get this started. Fun fact, I service schools that are not just in California. I have Illinois and Minnesota and Wisconsin, and so sometimes when I give them calls, I completely forget that it is 3 hours ahead over there. And wow, what a difference 3 hours can make in the overall vibe of the day for sure. Awesome. Okay, well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Taylor Middleton. I am one of the admissions counselors at Azusa Pacific University, and it is my privilege and honor to get to oversee this Academic Connect panel today as the moderator. We have some amazing students and faculty members that are with us today. And so I want to call attention to all of our students right now, our high school students that are viewing maybe solo with a parent or guardian. If you note, we have a Q&A box down at the bottom. Right now, if you came with your questions, if you're super prepared with your notepad like me, whoops, feel free to start chatting those questions into the Q&A, not the chat. And as you place those questions in the Q&A, we have an amazing counselor, Angelica, over on the other side of that Q&A who will be facilitating answering those questions or passing them off to me to then ask to our panelists today. So excited for you guys to all be here. Start using that Q&A. You can use it throughout the entire event, and that's the way you're going to get your questions answered. I would hate for you to leave today feeling like you didn't have a question answered. You ask the question. Don't wait for the other person to ask it. Be the hand raiser. You got this, folks. Awesome. Okay, so what we are going to do right now is we're going to do a little bit of an introduction. I'm going to have our students go through and share their name, what year they are, what they're studying, as well as some key activities or interests that they've been a part of during their time at APU. And then we will pass it off to our faculty members and let them have an opportunity to introduce themselves. So Alexis, let's start with you, shall we?
Sounds good. Hi, everybody. I'm Alexis Gaxiola. I'm a computer science major here, and it's my last year. This is my 4th year at APU. While I've been here, I've been a part of action teams and Steady Away.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Emily, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emily. I'm a math major and honors major with a physics minor, and I'm here to represent math and physics department. While I've been here, I've had the privilege of being involved in the International Center, in the AMP mentorship program, in the DREAM project, a service club on campus. So if you have any questions about those sort of things, you can direct them to me.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mallory Bell. I'm a junior at APU, and I'm a math major with an integrated credential. And I'm also a leadership minor. I've been involved in a lot of leadership programs on campus, such as the Student Government Association. I've been an alpha leader, which is like your guys' orientation leaders if you end up at APU. And this semester, I'm currently a discipleship group leader. I've lived in Adams and the mods, and I do recommend living on campus if you come here.
Oh, we're going to give Mason a half a sec to connect. I don't think his audio. There we go. Try again, Mason. Yep. Okay, go ahead, Mason.
Hi, my name is Mason Sarna. I'm a senior here at APU. I am an engineering major and with an emphasis in systems. I'm from Palm Springs, California, and some of the things that I've been involved in is the football team. That takes a lot of my time here.
Awesome. And Dr. Thomas? Awesome. Actually, Dr. Thomas, you're muted right now. So if you could unmute and then give your intro, that way our students can hear you. Thank you so much.
Okay, good afternoon. Hello, everybody. I'm George Thomas. I'm the chair of the Engineering and Computer Science Department. Let me tell you briefly about the department, and then I can answer your questions later on. We have a department with two programs, one in computer science and computer information systems, and the other in engineering. And both have been well received by the industry. Our students are employed in some of the best companies around this Southern California as well as nationally. Both of these programs are, strongly founded on mathematics and physics foundationally. So we require a significant amount of background in, mathematics and physics for the engineering program. And to some extent, more math, less physics perhaps for the computer science program and so forth. So we have strong foundations in that. And as you come and do these, either of these, we have in computer science, there are two tracks that we have: computer science itself and computer information systems, which is slightly more with an applied orientation, but both of them give you strong fundamentals in programming. You come in and begin with a strong suite of courses in programming. So you learn programming languages and software systems and so forth. In the senior years in computer science, we have advanced senior courses on artificial intelligence, machine learning, computer security, software engineering, and so on and so forth, which are all highly valued in the industry, job-wise, or if you want to go further to graduate school and so forth, they are all good for that. And similarly, in the engineering, we have two streams. One is systems engineering, the other is computer engineering. Systems engineering particularly is very relevant for the type of large aerospace and other industries around this region. Systems engineering is the part of engineering that deals with multiple specialties. Take an example as a NASA, for example. If you are working on a space shot, the spacecraft and the launch and all that, it's not any one kind of engineering. It involves mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, power systems, propulsion systems, safety, multitude of things. So a systems engineer knows a little bit of a multiplicity of disciplines and is able to interact with different specialists and to manage and look after a project from an oversight perspective. So that is a lot of technical management. It's different from management sciences. It is engineering, but it's broader based, and it has been very well received by the industry. And of course, computer engineering, which is the other track that we have, is needs probably no description. It is widely applicable. Computers are used pretty much in every walk of life today. So there is a wide range of applications and job opportunities for that. One of the distinctives of our program is the track record that we have in students, undergraduate students, engaging in faculty research. In many of the bigger schools with master's and PhD programs in engineering or computer science, The research assistants for the faculty are the graduate students. But since just because we don't have graduate students, at least as of now, in our engineering and computer science department, we rely on our undergraduate students to help the faculty in their research. And this has been extremely successful in the recent past, with students working with the faculty in some really cool projects and doing useful things, even going to national professional conferences and presenting papers and all that. So that has been a good experience, good thing for us as a department, but also for the students to write some, significant achievements in their resumes. It'll help you either in the job market or if you want to go to higher studies and so forth. And then both in computer science and in engineering, we also have required internship. So our students work during summers or during part of the regular semesters in a company outside the campus and gain practical experience. We have small classes and faculty who are, closely engaged with the students and so forth. So that are some of the other distinctives that we have. So I think I will stop here, and if you have questions, I'll answer later on. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Thomas. That was a great reminder. If you have any questions based off of anything our students said or Dr. Thomas said, feel free to use that Q&A. I see someone already has. Ask those questions. And right now we're going to send it over to Dr. McCoy for your introduction, as well as your awesome presentation you have prepared for us tonight. Thank you so much.
Everybody, my name is Dr. Peanut McCoy. I'm the chair of the Department of Math, Physics, and Statistics. I personally am a physicist, and fun fact about me, I grew up in a small town in Montana. Don't see too many of those around. So I don't want to spend too much time on this, but just give you a quick overview of some of the great things that we got going on in math, physics, and statistics. And then we'll get to questions and get to hear from some of the students as well. So big department vision. Our department provides rigorous training, so you'll really learn the stuff well within a supportive environment. So this is not a competitive situation where it's a dog-eat-dog kind of situation. We all try to help each other out here. We try to develop technical expertise and character. That last piece you wouldn't get at a state school, for example. And provide opportunities to prepare for a meaningful career and a life of service. That's what we're all after. Okay, so top 10 reasons to study math and physics at APU. Super fast here. We have awesome faculty. Best faculty on campus for my money, who all could be teaching at really high prestige universities. They've chosen to come to APU because they care about APU students. Some unique offerings. We have a 4+1 bachelor's plus credential. Mallory may be able to tell you about that if you're interested. We have also a 4+1, within 5 years, you could get a bachelor's in applied math with a computer science concentration and a master's degree in applied statistics and analytics. We have an actuarial track within our applied math and some minors and things. We have unique courses. We're constantly looking at national trends to look at what skills do students really need when they're going to go out in the workforce, and creating courses to help develop those, like computational physics or scientific writing. Internship possibilities. Almost all of our students have some kind of a research experience before they graduate, so we're good with connecting with off-campus internship opportunities, as well as on-campus working with our faculty. Job placements. The best thing about math or physics is that you have skills that pretty much every employer wants. For my money, math and physics are both about learning how to solve problems. So if you can think of an employer who might want somebody who can think and solve a problem, they're going to want a math or physics major. So this is just a small list of places where we have placed recent graduates. I'll skip that one. I mentioned supportive earlier. Our department is really close-knit. Most of our students end up saying that their best friends are people that they've met in the math and physics department. We do social events on a fairly regular basis. We have one tomorrow night. We're going to have a little cooking show with one of our physics faculty. In addition to the math and physics stuff that we look at, a huge reason why you should consider APU as opposed to other universities is at APU, in addition to all of the technical expertise that you would get in a math or physics degree, or in engineering for that matter, we also get to look at why does this matter from the perspective of faith. So we look at things like, how do humans flourish? And what does math have to do with that? For example, we had a talk on that last week. So it's a big picture education that gets the character and the purpose in addition to just the technical skills. Job experience, we hire lots of students for jobs. And Emily and Mallory can tell you about that. Things like serving in our tutoring center or learning assistants who are helping out in teaching classes. Service and outreach opportunities, things like we host a Boy Scout day once a year where there will be a couple hundred Boy Scouts on campus and we'll run workshops for them. It's just one example. And the Christian perspective. We have a series of courses within our math major that look at the Christian perspective and math and how those relate. On the physics side, we do this in every course throughout the entire program. So that is enough for me. I'll hand it back over to Taylor for whatever's next.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I am so excited that you had the opportunity to share and that we can now get to some questions. Students on the other end, high school students, please, if you can, go on ahead and ask some questions down in that Q&A. Angelica is asking and wanting for your questions. So please, please take care of those questions. Awesome. And as our panelists are turning their cameras back on, we will get started. Okay, this first question I have is going to be for our students, since we just had the opportunity to hear from some of our faculty. So students, I know that at APU, there is a service credit requirement for those high school students that may be on the other end. You may not be aware of this, but at APU, we strive to create a legacy of difference makers. And one way that we do that is by asking for students to participate in service around the community, around the globe, with people, helping them out. And so would love to hear from some students. I believe one of the students, I can't remember off the top of my head, talked about service learning opportunities that you were involved with potentially abroad. I think it was maybe Alexis. Awesome. Alexis, could you talk to us a little bit about how you fulfill service credits, specifically within your major and beyond as well, if you have some insight into that?
Yes, absolutely. In my second semester intro class, my professor gave us the opportunity to go to one of the schools in Azusa and both play with and teach robotics to one of the after school programs. But I also was part of an action team, and specifically an action team with computer science. One of our professors had the opportunity for a lot of us, gave the opportunity to go to Namibia in Africa and work on a computerized medical record for the hospitals there. And it was a great experience, and we also got service credits. So there's 120 credits that we're supposed to achieve while we're here. And since it was a month-long activity, it satisfied 30 of those credits. That was great.
Awesome. Wow. Okay, cool. I love that. Emily, Mallory, or Mason, do either of you three want to speak maybe about a cool class opportunity that you had to complete your service learning credits? Anyone? Mason. We'll do Mallory and then we'll do Mason.
I'm actually currently enrolled in 3 service learning classes. partially because I didn't know that all of them were service learning. So that was kind of a lot of work, but being able to work with the groups and presenting to students is really awesome. So one of those classes, since I'm an integrated program for my teaching credential, is actually a teaching class. So I've been able to be in the classroom with a host teacher for upwards of 45 hours this semester. And that's been a really great opportunity to be able to shadow someone who's going to teach something that I want to teach. And then I'm in 2 other service learning classes. One of them, we're actually visiting the school site not next Friday, on Friday. So I'm really excited for that. And we'll be presenting about math education stuff. And then a couple weeks ago, I had another service learning project with my leadership class where we talked about inclusive leadership. And on top of that, I've also had opportunities to do a lot of our APU service credits through the math and physics department, specifically doing STEM day. And also there was another one, but there's a lot that are just within the math and physics department alone, let alone the entire school opportunities. And also the Alpha program has a really great time for service learning opportunities.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing about that. I do want to quickly mention the Alpha program. Sometimes when you become a student, you can become so accustomed to all the lingo. And so high school students, I want you to know a little bit about what our Alpha program is. As somebody that didn't graduate from APU, but went to a different institution where I had a welcome weekend experience, where I was paired with the upperclassmen, they kind of just left me after the weekend was done to figure my stuff out. And something that APU does really well and has been nationally recognized for their first year experience is because of our Alpha program. So what the Alpha program is it pairs sophomore students with groups of around 10 freshman students that all have some correlation, something in common. And throughout the entire first semester, that sophomore Alpha leader is helping to put on different mini events to create a community for students so that when you get here on campus, you don't feel like you're alone, but you have that community standing right behind you. So thanks so much for introing that, Mallory. I appreciate that so much. I would love for Mason to maybe talk about some opportunities that you have had through any of your specific classes. And we're actually going to have you pause for a second. I think I figured out your mic. You got to wait for 4 seconds and then you can start going. Go ahead, Mason.
Okay. Yeah, so as mentioned, in the engineering and computer science department, we have a lot of opportunities to get that service learning and credit done. And one of the opportunities I had was, I think my sophomore year, we went to an after-school program at one of the local schools here in Azusa. And we taught them how to code and do some basic programming. So I thought that was a really cool experience for me.
That's awesome. Wow, that's cool. I love how all 4 of you, I'm sure Emily as well, have had different experiences in getting to serve. I think it can be intimidating to think, oh my gosh, 120 service credits, but you end up completing a lot of them through your classes and varying activities, which is awesome. So the next question that I'm going to ask is going to go to our faculty members. So maybe we can start with you, Dr. McCoy, for this specific question, but how do you feel that your specific math, physics, and statistics departments are able to prepare students for post-grad life?
Oh, that's a big question. So the first and most obvious part is the training that you get in your courses. So students who graduate in our courses really know their stuff, including problem-solving skills, communication skills, all sorts of skills that employers really, really want. There's also the mentorship piece that I think is a little bit underappreciated. I have students in my office all the time just asking for life advice. How do I go think about which job I actually want? And then how do I go about getting that job? So I think in our department, we do a really good job of helping with those sort of coaching things to be prepared to launch as soon as you graduate. I'll just throw in one shameless plug here. A couple of years back, we had a recruiter from Raytheon show up on campus in April, just a few weeks before graduation. And it turned out that during finals week of the senior year, 4 of our physics majors were hired just as a batch from Raytheon. They were just so excited to have them.
is so cool. That is so awesome. I think that having those post-grad opportunities as somebody that was very attracted to that when picking colleges, I think that I would just encourage high school students, ask that, hear things that are as awesome as Dr. McCoy is sharing about the program, to know what is this college investment going to look like in the future. Awesome. Well, Dr. Thomas, I know you spoke a little bit about internships earlier, and I think that can relate to postgrad a bit. So if you could answer for me right now a little bit about the internships. So I have a question that came through that says, are all students guaranteed an internship? So maybe you could answer that for me.
Okay, I'll answer the internship question first. I would like to say yes, because internship is a required, it is a graduation requirement, so you need to do that internship. So we help the students find internships. We encourage the students to look for internships on their own, and we connect with companies that are offering internships to students. So we have made it a practice throughout the fall and spring semesters to invite to our campus various companies who have internship programs. Now in this current COVID situation, when we are all off campus, we still connect with such companies online. As a matter of fact, as late as yesterday evening, we had a presentation from one of the global major companies called Ricardo International. They are into aerospace and hybrid electric vehicles. Great supporters of systems engineering. So the president of that company came online and talked to the students, answered questions and so forth. And before that, we had connected with Raytheon, for example, and JPL, and Aerospace Corporation. We had 2 weeks ago, we had a similar event with NGC, Northrop Grumman, which is another major aerospace company. So these are all ways how we connect the students with potential internship providers. So yes, we do provide facilities for that, and we want the students to have that experience in internship. As for graduate school, it is one of the stated goals of our department to help students who are interested in going for higher studies, to help them, prepare them for graduate studies. So, we give, advice for students as to how to prepare for graduate school, such as, the so-called GRE exam and all those things. And also we advise the high achieving students on specifics of which schools and what areas are they looking for and how to connect with and so forth. So we are beginning to see, especially in the, I probably did not mention this before, but our computer science program has been a longer standing program, engineering relatively being newer. We have just graduated the first 2 batches. The third is coming out this spring. So they are just about getting into graduate schools and so forth. So, we place great emphasis in kind of helping students to get an idea of what's good about graduate school, and those who are motivated and capable of that going there. So
thank you for sharing about that. I appreciate it, giving some insight into those internships. Okay, I have a question. I'm going to ask this question to Mason, and I'm also going to ask it to Emily to get a perspective from 2 different department areas. But the question is, how rigorous are some of the more technical classes that you're going to be taking? So Mason, maybe you can speak from the student perspective on the technical levels of some of those rigorous class, or the rigor levels of some of those technical classes. Okay, let's see. There you go.
Okay, yeah. So there's definitely going to be some challenging courses within the engineering program. But I think all of them, I mean, any student that is willing to like put in the time and effort is more than capable. And we have the professors are all willing to help, office hours, and especially since this class size is so small, really any class, like they just want to make sure that you know the information. So I would say that all the classes here are challenging, but they're also doable because of the resources that are given to us from the university.
Awesome. That's some great insight. Thanks for that. Emily, any technical classes that you sort of see through your math and physics majors?
Right. Yeah, in the math and physics department, just like in the engineering and computer science department, we do offer a very high level of rigor in all of our classes. We do also offer a lot of support for that. So although we do have a very high degree of rigor in all our classes, we also offer, like Dr. Peanut said, in the Q&A section, we have a drop-in tutoring center that provides support. And because of our small class sizes, professors are very available for support as well for one-on-one meetings, office hours, and things like that. So we do have a great amount of support for that. So the rigor is not something to be intimidated by. One great thing that allows us to provide a lot of flexibility in that respect is the opportunity to take a lot of independent studies, especially for students seeking grad school, seeking to get a little bit more in depth in some topics. I personally have taken a lot of independent studies in the math department to get something a little bit beyond the regular coursework, and that's something that you're not going to get at a regular college, well, not regular, but at a larger school or a larger department, because we have smaller class sizes and more professor availability. So that really helps you get to that higher degree of rigor in some of those independent studies.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing a bit about that. I do have quite a specific question headed your way, Dr. Thomas. I have a student that is wondering if the engineering program is ABET certified, or when the student finishes the engineering program, will they be ABET certified? If you could unmute yourself really quickly.
Thank you.
There you go.
Well, for this group of prospective students, when you come into the program and graduate, you will certainly be graduating out of a ABET accredited program. The thing about the ABET, for everyone's understanding, is Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology. That is the national and truly the international gold standard for engineering education. For a good engineering program, without exception, you need to be ABET accredited. Now, how ABET accreditation happens is like this. They will come and look at a program only after at least the first batch of students have graduated. They will not come before that. It's not like you start with an ABET approval stamp. You have to produce at least the first batch of students. Our engineering program started in 2015. So in due course, in 2019 spring, we did graduate our first batch. Then we applied to ABET and put in the papers, and everything went well. They of course they look at the initial paperwork and then see whether we are worthy of that. They found it good, so they were getting scheduled to come and visit us. That will be the final act this fall, right about now. They should have been on campus looking at our programs and hopefully giving us a certification for that. But naturally, as us and everybody else went off campus, due to the COVID situation, so did ABET. They are now working from home. Their offices in Baltimore are all closed. So they let us know sometime in, I think it was midsummer, that look, we will not want to come to your campus this semester. And being a first accreditation, we would actually want to come physically rather than do it remotely. I mean, that was an option. They could have done the visit via Zoom. But since this is the new program and their first visit, we would like to physically be there on campus. So it is tentatively postponed to next fall. So that's where we stand as of now. We are prepared to have them here, excuse me, and they'll come and look at our program, talk to faculty and students and everything. And I think we would, if everything goes well, be accredited 2022. So,
Awesome.
but that is for the program. Once it is accredited, it is accredited with retrospective effect. So right from our first batch, we will all be covered. So to answer your question, yes, we will be ABET accredited when you all graduate, and we are eagerly looking forward to that.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I personally appreciated that information and details so that I can then be able to relay that to students in the future. So thank you. That's some really good information. Awesome. Okay, this question is going to Dr. McCoy. My question for you is, as a professor in our physics, statistics, and math department, what are some cool projects or opportunities that you have been able to provide to your students? I loved seeing your presentation talking about all the cool little events that your department is able to put on for its students. But in terms of projects that you've been able to assign or help students to collaborate with each other on, maybe you could give us an example of one or two projects that you've been able to talk about. And then maybe Alexis, if you could think of some projects you've been involved in at APU, we'll go to you next for that question. But Dr. McCoy?
Maybe I'll give two examples on this. At least on the physics side, every single one of our graduates gets an original research experience before they graduate. It's a requirement to do a bachelor's thesis. So for example, I have a current student who is working on a project who is looking at computational biophysics. He is using computer code to simulate the motion of proteins within biological molecules. He's working on this through a summer undergraduate research fellowship that has him working at Caltech over the summer with an actual Nobel Prize winner. So that's pretty awesome. On the math side, an example, we have a special topics class that does sort of applied math research sorts of things. One of the projects that was up in that class a few years ago was working with a researcher from Los Alamos National Lab, trying to use mathematical modeling of Google search data to predict when Zika virus outbreaks would hit. So they at one point called up the health minister of the nation of Colombia and asked for hospital data for when Zika virus outbreaks were happening. And they actually were able to predict before the virus outbreak hit the hospital just based on Google search data. So that's kind of cool.
Those are so cool. Wow. I think that as somebody, as I've said many times before in this seminar, has no experience with your fields, it's so interesting to see the ways that both Dr. Thomas's field as well as Dr. McCoy's field can be used in so many different ways and so many multifaceted ways. So thanks so much for sharing that. Before we pass it off to that question for Alexis talking about her cool projects, I do want to remind you guys the Q&A is open. So you're hearing a lot of great information. Feel free to keep asking questions down below in that Q&A. Alexis, let's hear it.
Awesome. So kind of going back to what I was talking about for my steady away, or not my steady away, my action team, working on the electric, there's so many technical terms that have been shoved into my brain for the past 4 years. Sometimes I jumble them together. One more time. The electrical medical record, we had a group of 6 students go, and basically I joined my sophomore year, and so I came into APU with very little coding experience, but for my first year I had learned a lot, and our professor really had it so we were teaching ourselves and like getting to experience how it'd be to put our knowledge into action, because in our classes we build little projects to like track a bouncing ball or to make a little Raspberry Pi do something, but having an entire project be built together is so much more massive that it doesn't seem feasible when I first started it, but working with my team, it started getting together.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing about that experience, Alexis. I did hear from Mason that he was very eager to share about a cool project he had in mind. So Mason, let's unmute, give you the second for that mic to boot up, and then I'd love to hear about the cool project you have in mind. Go ahead, Mason.
Yeah. So for all the senior engineers, we're all in a class called Senior Design, and basically this year is a new project that we were given. It's basically a nano satellite that we're working on. It's called a CubeSat. If you're interested to look it up. Basically, we were tasked with the research, design, and development of this nano satellite, and it's a class of 9 people. We're all split into different teams. For instance, I'm on the power team, like working with solar panels, being able to charge the whole system and distribute the power to all the other teams. And yeah, just working with basic electronic components our ultimate goal basically is to have it launched with NASA and go into orbit. However, that's not, this is a 2-semester class. We're not gonna be able to do that. We're just building prototypes right now, but for you future students, they're planning on around 3 to 4 years probably. So maybe one of you guys will be here when it actually gets to launch with NASA. So that's a cool thing that we're doing right now.
That's really cool. Wow. Oh my gosh. And it's so cool, especially to think that it's not necessarily collaborative just with this senior class, but all of these students that are going to be involved in engineering are going to build on that. That's so awesome. Great. Okay. I have a question for Mallory. Mallory, I know that you mentioned that you've been relatively involved with various intramurals and campus activities, student life things. I would love for you to describe from your perspective, what do you feel like the student life on campus is like, and what has been maybe 1 or 2 cool opportunities that you've had you've been able to participate in through campus life and being a student at APU?
Yeah, I love talking about campus life. So I've been, as she said, involved in intramurals on campus. I've also been in the Alpha Leadership Program and a lot of other leadership opportunities on campus. I think that something APU does really well that a lot of schools don't is have a lot of very specific events for on campus, especially aimed toward freshmen, like getting them involved, but also for the entire student body. School dances are something that most schools don't have when you get to college. It's mostly a high school thing, but APU has 3 dances a year. So we have homecoming, gala, which is in the spring, and then La Femme, which is in late November, early December. And so those are something that is super fun opportunity if you're interested in dances. There's usually 2 dance floors, so one that's like more the high school dance scene, and then one that's more laid back with like classical music playing. So I think it's a really great opportunity for all students to come together. I also think other great programs on campus are intramurals if you're interested in sports but didn't want to commit the time it takes to be an athlete on campus, as I bet Mason can attest is a lot of work. So I've played volleyball, sand volleyball, and basketball with one of my best friends. And so I think that intramurals are a really great time to be on campus. There's also a lot of Friday night activities in 7 Palms, which is one of our little amphitheaters on East Campus near all the freshman housing, as well as in the larger amphitheater. And sometimes there's like movie nights on campus and stuff. So I think there's a really, really great opportunity to get connected with other students, as well as good times to spend with your friends being in the Alpha program. That's something that's really, really important for freshmen to stay involved in, because I've met 3 of my best friends at APU were in my Alpha group. So that's something that's really great opportunity for campus life that APU has. So that's just a little bit about campus life.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Mallory. I also always mention the dances. I think that's really cool. For those of you who may have homecoming or prom in your high school gym, just to clarify, this is not a high school gym kind of a move. I mean, they've had dances at Angel Stadium before, just at really cool places for you to get to hang out with your friends, bop to some good music before you maybe have a test the next Monday. Who knows? Well, speaking of intramurals and the commitment that athletes have to put in, Mason, we got a question for you. How difficult is it for you to juggle your schoolwork being in a very rigorous major with your football practice? How many hours per week would you say that you dedicate to football? And just, yeah, your overall student athlete life balance situation. Go on ahead.
Yeah, so as for hours, I would say probably around 20 hours a week roughly, solely for practice meetings. Yeah, I mean, football is an all year round sport. So like you're never going to get away from it if you do plan on trying to be on the team. Also, in terms of managing my time, coming in as a freshman, I quickly learned that time management is like an essential skill that you need if you want to be an athlete and a student, especially like in a degree like engineering. So that's a trait that I was able to luckily pick up pretty quickly. And along with that, I was also able to get a job off campus during that time. So like, I guess time management is like something that you learn really quickly. And I mean, you'll get used to the nature of just being at practice all the time, being in school all the time, and being at work. So.
Awesome. Thanks. I love that you're able to speak as well to the employee aspect, because I'm not sure if Emily, Mallory, or Alexis have been working during college. I know when I was in college, I worked 20 hours a week. And it's definitely something to balance, but you're still able to, make that cash and participate in school, work hard, and be a part of campus life as well. Okay, Emily, I got a question coming for you, and then I got some stuff coming to our professors. Emily, how are you able to balance the honors college with your math major? I do want to take a brief pause before you answer that to let all of our audience know that our honors major is a major. It's honors humanities. So when you graduate, Emily, for example, will be able to have a major in honors humanity as well as math and physics, right? Are you having a triple major, Emily?
I've moved to a physics minor, so
physics minor. Okay, awesome. So maybe you could talk briefly about the honors college, just to kind of give students a little bit of some insight about that, as well as just how you balance that with, once again, being in a pretty rigorous major.
Yeah, of course. I love talking about the Honors College. It is such a cool thing that we have on campus. It is a very different thing than APU or honors, sorry, not APU, slip of the tongue, than AP or honors classes that you would have in high school, which is generally just a more rigorous version of the classes you would have in general education in high school. The Honors College, like Taylor mentioned, is a separate college within university with a separate major. So it's a integrated humanities degree that combines theology, philosophy, and literature. And I actually love having that balance with the math major. The math major is a wonderful degree because it is very, very flexible. We have certain core classes that are required for all math majors. Mallory and I are both taking very different tracks. Mallory's doing the BA with the teacher credential, and she's taking very different classes than I'm taking as a BS major, with the more of the, I'm not doing the theory technical credential. I'm doing more of the theory. And so there is a lot of flexibility in that, which makes it very easy to integrate other majors, such as the honors major, which is a great thing about flexibility within the math department. And also it's really nice to have that balance of, the humanities and math, so you get kind of both sides of the academic spectrum, which is fun.
Awesome. And I do want to say thanks so much for sharing that, Emily. If you do have any questions about the honors program, you can send an email directly to the honors program by emailing apuhonors@apu.edu, I believe. So if you have questions about that and you do want to do that dual degree, feel free to email me or them and get some more information about that. Thanks so much for answering all those questions, students. Okay, Dr. McCoy, I've got a question coming your way. It is, what sorts of classes would you recommend taking in high school? Maybe we've got a junior or sophomore here. What would you recommend, or even maybe over the summer for community college to really be prepped and ready to go for either physics, statistics, or math major at APU. And Dr. Thomas, I'll come to you with the same question in a moment, so be thinking about your answer.
Okay, so if you're thinking of a math major, as much math as possible in high school is good. So we typically prefer if freshmen declaring a math major are in calculus their first semester at APU. If you're not quite ready for calculus, that's okay. We can take you at whatever level you're at and catch you up. If you're beyond Calculus 1, say for example, if you had an AP Calculus course or something, that's great. Then you get credit for that and you can just start it wherever you're at and then have chances to get on to higher level courses like Emily was describing with her independent studies earlier. If you're thinking physics, having at least one high school physics class is really useful. If it's an AP, great. If not, that's okay too. And still, for physics, as much math as possible is really useful.
Awesome. Quite the opposite of my high school transcript, let me tell you. Definitely not enough math. Okay, Dr. Thomas, what about for you? What classes would you suggest a student taking in high school or considering taking for community college maybe in the spring or in the summer to help prepare them for computer science or engineering at APU? You can go ahead and press the unmute button before you go right there. Awesome, thank you.
Okay, for engineering and for computer science, there are the usual math requirements. Most students, we expect them to start with Calculus 1. So pre-calculus, algebra, and trigonometry and all those courses would be useful. Same with computer science too, math background. In engineering, some amount of high school physics would be useful. But there are students who come with less than the full ideal preparation in math or physics or whatever, and then they take those courses or equivalent courses here on campus. For example, if you are not ready to get into Calculus 1, you can do your pre-calculus course here and then move on further, and that is quite doable. It's not going to necessarily pull you back by a semester or a year or so, because especially here at APU with a substantial amount of non-major, that is the general education courses also to finish, there is plenty to do that in your first semester or second semester. So if you did not start exactly at Calculus 1, it's not like the end of the world or anything. We can still catch up and do well, and many students do well too. But to the question as to what courses you should take generally, the natural answer would be math and physics. But I would say that most high school courses are relevant. In particular, your writing courses are important. Your language courses are important. Engineers in particular, computer science to engineers and computer scientists, we have to communicate to other people. Communication skills are important. So ability to write, familiarity with the language. So your English courses, writing courses and all that, doing well is a great skill. And also general courses in social studies or civics or those things are useful, because that makes you aware of why you are doing this. You do those courses again through our general education, but it's good to come with an idea of what is the purpose. Engineers are people who use the principles of physics and chemistry and all that and make useful things for society. So the society that you are engaged in is very important. I would also mention that yesterday I told you that we had this president of Ricardo America speaking to our students yesterday night, and I was impressed by one of the students asked this question: what is the most important skill that we should gain from our engineering education? And I thought he was going to say some big engineering course name. He said it's public speaking, and it affected me profoundly. That's a very, very deep insight, that unless you can communicate, your knowledge stays with you. Your skills, your ideas, your designs, you need to convince other people that you have a good idea and you need to be supported and things like that. So public speaking or speaking skills are important.
Great.
So on the whole, a generally good, solid background in all subjects in high school is very relevant.
Awesome.
Yeah, okay.
Great. Thank you so much. I love that detail, especially about the public speaking. I think that's a great piece that students wouldn't often think of. Good news is you're able to take public speaking courses at APU, so don't stress if you don't have that opportunity in high school. I'm going to ask my last question. It's going to be super speedy. It's going to take 1 to 2 minutes because I'm going to have our four students on our panel, starting with Emily. You're going to give 1 to 2 sentences. What is a piece of advice you want to pass on to the incoming students that are in this Zoom right now? 1 to 2 sentences. Go, Emily.
Definitely, I would say something to start doing now while you're in college is start exploring what you're thinking of majoring in. You don't need to wait until you come to university to start getting involved in some research programs. Internships are a little too early for some things like that, but they have some great, especially from the math side, which I'm more familiar with. They have some great programs for some math camps, math research opportunities, even for high school students such as yourselves. And that's a great way to get kind of your foot in the door in mathematics, even before you start your college experience.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Emily. Okay, we're going to pass it over to Mallory, then Mason. So Mason, have that mic ready. Mallory, take it away.
Mine is going to be a little less about school and about more like your college experience. Really make sure that you're staying involved outside of just your major. Like we do have major events like Peanut was talking about. Sorry, Dr. McCoy was talking about. But so yeah, make sure that you go to on-campus events because it's a really great way to meet friends that are potentially going to last a lifetime, because that's a really big thing that's about college too.
Yeah, so my piece of advice would just be to be invested in what you're learning, just because you're going to be doing this for the rest of your life. So make sure it's something you love to do, and also don't be afraid to ask for help.
Great. I love it. Short, succinct, clear. Alexis, take us home.
Just building off of everything what the 3 others have said, don't have the it's too late mentality. As a freshman, I was involved, but not as much as I wanted to. And I thought, first year, now it's too late. Like sophomore years, I can't make any friends, but it's not true. You can continue to do anything at any point. And with your major, if you are starting to think, maybe this isn't for me, even if it's your sophomore year, your junior year, it's not too late. You can change your mind. You can change how things are going.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I want to thank our students, our college students, APU students that attended. Thank you so much for taking time out of, I'm sure, the homework you have to complete and things like that tonight, for coming and sitting on our panel. Thank you, Dr. Thomas. Thank you, Dr. McCoy, so much for helping to participate in this and bring some clarity to students that are in your departments wanting to hear more. Great news for you. This video will be posted in the coming weeks on our website, so feel free if you want to hear info from this again or share it with someone else, you can do that. Our Emily Dial just dropped in the chat a minute ago about our live virtual tour that is up and going. So if you click on that link, you got to click on it now. When I close out this webinar, it's going to disappear. So click on that link, have it opened in a different tab, or write down what the link code is so that you can sign up for a virtual tour. One of our admissions interns will lead you through a virtual campus, and then me or another admissions counselor will be waiting for you at the end to answer any questions you may have about APU. That being said, to all of our panelists and everybody on the other side, let's take a deep breath. It's gonna be okay. You're gonna get through this crazy season. I believe in you. We all believe in you, and APU is here cheering you on and rooting for you. Thank you so much to our faculty members and students for attending, and I hope everybody has a great rest of their Wednesday evening. Bye-bye.